Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. This is X here. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend because I know I did. Um, so I decided to try something new and shout out to Bubble Bubble for this, wonderful program. It's a little hack that he made. It allows you to, what do you call it, enter a custom training mode. There are cool new functions like record, replay, infinite health, infinite meter, although the meter is kind of glitched as you can see, getting 3 out of 2 bars, but it is a very impressive program and it allows me to do a lot of stuff that I'd normally be able to do on the online edition. So I decided to do a short video displaying some defensive options that I noticed done by a few players like JDL-san, like Yuki, like Nika KO, and some of these seem a bit high level, but I think despite the difficulty level, it's still tech, and I think it's pretty useful once you get practice in and once you're able to apply it to certain situations. Okay, so I'm gonna go over a small situation right here. I've already made a short recording. Okay, so I'm going to explain one sort of situation. Suppose you have a Ken player that does this, a few strings, jump in, blah, usual. Now, normal players, or a lot of players that I see dealing with this kind of situation, they tend to parry on reaction, right? That's a good thing. I mean, Third Strike is all about parries. It's it's because of that there's no, what do you call it, true block string. For some players some players I've watched, like Yuki or like JDL-san or like Kyokuji or Nika KO, they deal with this kind of situation differently. And after watching a video, discuss a video made by Nika, after watching a video made by Nika KO when he spoke to Mauve about some defensive options, this is exactly what Mauve told him. What Mauve told him was that in this kind of situation, he would input a parry early, right? In case the player decided to bring out a normal early. If nothing happens, he jumps back. Now what he does during that split second is input a quick parry as he jumps. So this is the kind of situation, sorry, not the situation, this is the kind of result you get. Right there, see? And for me, it kind of works in a good way because I'm using a twin, Yang, and if I were to get a successful hit, that failed right there. I can go straight into dive kick. Right? Again, I wouldn't recommend this for, people. I wouldn't recommend this for beginners because it kind of takes a lot of practice, to be able to pull off consecutively. It's not easy to pull off. But it is tech nonetheless, and it's a pretty useful one too, especially on mid-screen. But I wouldn't recommend it, at the corner, especially if you're the one being put in the corner, so there's no space. I recommend just blocking and, observing, but it is pretty good tech. Let's try that again. One more time. Right there. Or if you were a Shoto, you'd parry and then hit straight up just to push the person away, kind of giving you some space. Or if you were Akuma, you do, what do you call it? You do the Tatsu, Ken, EX Tatsu. Yeah, there are different ways you could react, but I suggest that in the beginning, when you're trying to learn this tech successfully, focus on getting the parry successfully. Focus on making sure that you jump away and getting the parry input successfully. Right there. See? All right, so I'm going to go on with another kind of tech. Okay, now I like to show some tech against Akuma players. You know, Akuma players tend to add a lot of mix-ups into their arsenal. Akuma is basically an offensive juggernaut. The more pressure you keep on your opponent, the better for you. Okay. One thing I noticed about Akuma players is that they tend to use demon flips into their arsenal, and there are 3 things that come out of a demon flip: a demon flip dive kick, a demon flip punch, and a demon flip throw or grab. Players can tend to also fake the demon flip by doing the dive kick at the last second, and they quickly stand up. I'm gonna give a situation in where you're going up against an Akuma player who goes straight from a heavy punch, standing heavy punch, to a dive kick. Now, this is something I noticed Nikokeo also do. He quickly input a parry, but instead of doing what I showed previously, he simply retreated with a jump and a high punch. Now I'll demonstrate right here. Right there. See? The thing is that with a dive kick, with a demon flip kick, there's a small delay before the person is able to release that dive kick. Within that delay, you can either put in a quick parry, or you can just jump away to avoid it. In my opinion, it would be better to jump away with a heavy hit so that you can give yourself some space. Because, even if you do jump away and avoid it, this person, even if you do jump away and avoid it, depending on how fast you are, chances are you either get hit or... Alright, let me try that again. Or this person will just get close to you. He's still in pursuit. Or you could just do what I did in the previous video. Like that. I mean, this takes a bit of practice, especially when you're dealing with, an Akuma player who knows what he or she is doing. If you're dealing with the dive kicks, make sure you have a lot of space. But if you know that depending on the situation, depending on how the person reacts, that you're not fast enough to do it, I recommend going into training mode and training your fingers in such a way that you can react fast enough to these kind of situations. This tech is not easy to pull off. It takes some getting used to. I mean, I already know this tech, and yet I'm having troubles trying to pull it off, especially in matches, and it forces me to take a lot of risk. So I suggest consistent practice. Make sure that your fingers get the rhythm in. All right. Another thing I'm going to... Okay, now for certain players, right, I notice that they tend to have problems dealing with cross-up tatsus. For characters like Akuma, for Ken, for Ryu, if their tatsu gets over to the other side, especially if your character is short enough for them to cross over, it's termed as a cross-up, right? It will serve as a cross-up. So it's only natural for your character to get hit by that tatsu. And this is one such example that I see happen to a lot of players. So first, I've reset my command list. Now I'm gonna do a bit of recording to start the inputs. Right there. So we have a medium kick into a heavy tatsu. Watch what happens. See? I got hit. That served as a cross-up. Now there are 2 ways you can deal with this. You can simply let him cross up and quickly change directions by blocking. Like so. Basically you're blocking left during the whole thing, but then as soon as you see him cross up, you block right. You change directions. Let's try that again. See? Or, if you're smart, you could wait and parry. Now, there's a small delay after especially if your character is short enough, there's a small delay, right? If he's close enough to you and you see him kick you before it goes straight into a tatsu, there's a small delay right there after the first tatsu. that allows you to parry, you know, counter. So this adds in a lot to your offensive tech. Again, depending on how close you are to Akuma, yeah, you either have to parry 2 hits or 3. It all depends on how close you are to him. So let's say I'm not that close to him. Alright, let's try that again. See? I had to parry 3 hits. 3 hits again. But if I'm very close to him, let's try that again. Oh dear, I'm failing terribly. Only 2 hits. And alright then. Okay, so I'm gonna give another tech that I learned called the, the normal grab option select. It's something I also picked up watching a few videos on YouTube. This was done by a lot by a Japanese player called Mov. He's a Chun-Li player, and for me, the way I learned it, was, sticking to Ken. There was a point in time where I started to learn everything all over again, and I decided to stick to Ken because I felt that he was the basics of the basics. So yeah, the way this thing works is that you practically bring out a normal, especially towards an opponent who is either dashing in or trying to bring in those shenanigans to getting a throw. But if your normal is too slow to catch him off guard and he grabs you, you enter another set of buttons for throw tech. It's a good, and in my opinion, a very basic defensive option, but not every defensive option is 100% guaranteed. Though for me, especially when I'm in the corner, it's very useful when you're going up against people that love throwing, that find themselves proficient at throwing. They'd be very surprised at the fact that you're getting a lot of throw techs. So here's how it works. I'm gonna input a set of buttons. I've already recorded the actions for my Ryu over here. So before I start, I'm gonna give you a bit of a key. The green buttons, like the green punch buttons and kick buttons, represent light. Yellow represents medium, and red represents heavy. I think I should have done this much earlier in the video, but it's all good. Alright, so let's begin. Please pay attention to the command bar. Right there. See? I didn't mean to do a standing medium again at the end, but what I did was, I don't know if you guys were able to notice that my standing medium punch, the first one, was a bit early, so it didn't come out, and because of that he was able to get a throw. But during the entire time I pressed the throw button again, and right after I pressed it again. So I don't know if you guys can hear the rhythm behind my fingers, but let's try resetting this bar, and I want you guys to listen for a second. Yeah, I don't know if that's enough, but that's the rhythm behind my fingers anytime I'm trying to get out of the corner, or I'm trying to deal with somebody who's trying to dash in all the time. So let's try demonstrating that again. First, let me save state right here. Reset the command buttons. And alright, too slow. Too early. Right, now that was perfect. You see, during that time, I managed to catch him off guard, and if I'm fast enough, I can go straight into target combo. That's exactly what I've been doing. At first when I was starting to use Ken, I stuck to, crouch techs. But, this is a bit slow, especially when it's not going to come out. But as I got a bit better with him, I started doing standing techs. And most of the time, I would try to I would try to catch a lot of dash-in players with the target combo. But You know, it didn't happen all the time, but when those happened, they were successful. That I can say that for me, they were successful. So let's try this again. Right, that was a bit too fast, but okay. Too late. Right there. So depending on the situation, you either get a defensive tech or you get an offensive tech. Either way, you're still safe because, you know, even if the person manages to get a quick throw in, you will tech. Again, this is not always reliable, especially if the person is gonna delay his tech. But it is pretty effective against people that love throwing. Right there. Again, it's not 100% guaranteed, but you know, it is a pretty basic and a pretty reliable form of tech, especially when you're in the corner and you know you're dealing with somebody who is throw happy and loves doing those, what do you call it, meaty setups and all that. Again, this is something I've also started doing with Q. You know, you don't necessarily have to stick to standing medium. I mean, this is for Ken. You can start doing it for any other character that you're more comfortable with. You can use different kind of normals for different characters that you think, you know, are better suited for the situation. For me, when I was using Ken, I would stick to standing medium. For Q, I stick to, you know, standing medium kick, because you know that's practically, I think for me, the main bread that can connect to most of his moves, like the dash in punch and the slaps. So yeah, that's basically the gist of the whole technique. I hope this video helped, and I will see you guys later. Peace and grace. Bye.